Dr. Satyajit, would you introduce our next speaker?
Yes, ma'am. We'll move on to our next speaker, Dr. Matthew Kurian. He's a consultant for cataract and refractive surgery at the Chaitanya Group of Eye Hospitals, and he will be showcasing our teaching today, the teaching pearl in this video session. Dr. Matthew Kurian, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Satyajit. Thank you, Dr. Chitra, for having me as a participant in this one. I'll start with my video. I hope my screen is visible to everybody?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this was a lady who was diagnosed with a branch retinal vein occlusion and with significant macular edema, as can be seen in this picture. And there was multiple injections given prior to the cataract surgery that was planned at a later date. So she opted for femtocataract, and you can see that we are focusing most on the anterior capsule there for the flap, etc., for the rhexis, but I didn't understand the significance of this blob over here, which is visible also in the line scan. The offset here is about 500, which was my standard. The significance of that blob at that point, I didn't realize. Okay, so the initial steps of surgery were not very different, but I found that generally it was much more difficult to separate the fragments. And I do 2 circles and 8 spokes fragment, and that was not happening easily. And I was struggling a little bit. And suddenly, when I was very far from the posterior capsule, you can see that the posterior capsule has opened linearly like that, like in a posterior polar cataract. So anyway, putting this coat without letting the chamber collapse, and then switching between IA cut and cut IA, I was able to complete a good viscodissection, clearing the cortex and removing the vitreous from the anterior chamber. I then finally finish by putting a standby lens, in this case, which is a 3-piece lens. I prefer to use 3-piece lens in the sulcus when I'm doing an optic capture, and I'm able to complete a good optic capture and complete the procedure over here. This is the post-operative 1-week image, and this we published at a later date. So just a few things that I would like to take in terms of the tips. Normally, in any intravitreal, we should be suspicious that the posterior capsule may be damaged, and we tend to get a linear laceration, which may not cause intumescent cataract like in other lens studs. In all these situations, we should be prepared with a multi-piece lens, and I really like the cut IA cut option on the modern phaco machines, which allow for good cleanup in the event of a complication like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matthew. You brought out a new challenge which we face with these multiple intravitreal injections which are given nowadays. I would actually, whenever there's a case of an intravitreal injection or a vitrectomy, I would always be prepared to treat these cases like a polar cataract and expect that there has been a lens touch and there would PC could give way. So then I would look at doing multiple hydrodelineations in these cases to have layers and layers of endonucleus so that the posterior capsule is well protected. And you didn't show that bit of that nucleus which was still there in the bag, and you know, in that video you haven't shown us that. Probably this is a kind of case wherein you might have even thought of using an IOL scaffold when there's still some nuclear fragment there and the capsule is open and you are not planned for it.
Yeah, in my case, I was able to complete it using the ViscoShield as a scaffold onto which I was able to complete. It was not a very hard cataract. It was very sticky, and I think that was what was causing the challenge. It would not rotate. Maybe the exposure to the intravitreal injection molecule alters the lens fiber, what you call stickiness, and makes it a little more leathery rather than the typical response. So I knew that it was different. I couldn't figure it out at that point of time. And if you see at one point, you can see that there is this pigmented powdery white material on the epinucleus shell as it is flipping out of the bag. And I believe that that must be the chemical that is deposited over there.
Expert panel, any thoughts you have on this?
Ma'am, I would like to ask Ramamurthy sir, is the take-home message from this video that for every intravitreal injection that is given, when it's due for cataract surgery, a posterior capsule assessment has to be done through anterior segment OCT, and be prepared for any adverse situation?
You could need to be prepared. But anyway, if you don't have an anterior segment OCT, you take care that the posterior capsule is open and continue with your case.
Sir, you are muted, sir.
You need to unmute.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's an excellent question, Satyajit, and I was just about to develop on that in the sense that obviously when a diabetic retinopathy case, you would be doing a OCT before taking up the case for cataract surgery. And most of our OCTs today come with a ASOCT also. And as was shown by the speaker also, most often you would find a PC touch or a defect, and you need to see if it is in line with the posterior capsule. Most often it's just a touch, and there may not be a break. There might be a fibrotic patch over there. And in these cases, you would get away without a PC rupture. As was seen in this case, if there is some material protruding into the vitreous cavity, most often you have to be prepared for a PC rent. And the second thing is that you have to also differentiate between whether it's after a intravitreal injections or post-vitrectomy. Because if it's after intravitreal injections, especially in younger patients, is most often you have formed vitreous and you can get away with conventional cataract surgery as well as doing an anterior vitrectomy, as was shown by in this video. But if it's post-vitrectomy and the lens touch has been there is no vitreous to scaffold the lens material. And these cases, the lens material rapidly disappears into the posterior segment, when you might have to call the help of a colleague to take care of that. And in case there is a posterior capsule touch because of an injection, I would actually allow a certain amount of time to elapse before going in for the surgery. Because if you allow a significant amount of time, there is fibrosis that occurs around the margin of the touch. And this helps to retain the lens material within the bag. The moment you get a cataract, there's no need to rush into the surgery and go ahead and do this. If you allow a few weeks to last before taking these patients up, you might have the capsule fibrosing and supporting the lens material within the lens bag.
Sir, I wanted to ask Dr. Ajay Paul, suppose I have recognized a PC defect in these post-intravitreal injection patients, would SICS be safer? Or would you still, you have seen a posterior capsule defect, would you still want to go ahead with phacoemulsification?
Not necessary. With the newer modern machines, with the Centurion and all, you can always get down your parameters low down. That depends on if you have a cataract which has turned white suddenly, you know there is a big rupture there. And if you have waited for some time, there is a fibrosis, you can still go ahead. But it's not necessary that, well, I do continue with the phaco and with the parameters down, knowing well that I might get a PCR, because SICS is also the same. When I'm opening the incision, the AC flares up and there could be the tear could extend. So I can extend with the, and normally in these cases, I go with the 20 IOP or 20 IOP and then go ahead.
I would still stick to phaco because I feel it's a very controlled environment, and you know you have a closed chamber and the fluidics are good nowadays, and you have to be prepared with low pressure fluidics, and you have better control, and you are already prepared, just like you're dealing with a posterior polar cataract. However, as Dr. Ramamurthy sir said, you know, you have to differentiate between the post vitrectomy and the post injection, and I feel that, you know, centers which do a lot of retina surgery, we typically tend to post VR surgery, you know, we always do an IOL master or a Lenstar to ensure that we have an axial length which is right, because sometimes the cataract progresses very fast. The second thing is, if oil has been used, the PC is very, very difficult to handle sometimes. You know, it might have a sheet which is sticking behind the capsule and you might want to polish it. And the moment you try to do it, it kind of gives way. So you have to be very wary of polishing the posterior capsule in these post VR surgery, post SOR eyes as well. And some of these injection eyes also have seen that the quality of the capsule deteriorates. The posterior capsule is not healthy anymore, especially if multiple injections have been given. So I think it's definitely a very challenging situation. And I've burnt my fingers a couple of times trying to polish these capsules, thinking that, you know, I'll get away. And it's also very difficult to make up, you know, posterior capsular rhexis because it's very friable. It doesn't tear the way that you would want it to kind of form into a rhexis. So
Gaurav,
of
let
course,
me-
it
let me-
doesn't extend as fast as well. If you have a PC break, usually, it'll just remain limited to small kind of a tag or something and may not run away because that upthrust from the vitreous is not there. It's a vitrectomized eye. So you can still put a lens in the bag. Even if you've had a small PC tear, it's not going to extend. So, I mean, you have to learn to handle these eyes, over a period of
Gaurav,
time.
let me rephrase my question for the benefit of all the ophthalmologists. I see a defect and I don't have a machine which has the advanced fluidics. I have a regular phaco machine. Do you still recommend I go ahead with phaco, or
Absolutely.
should
Absolutely. No, I would still recommend going in with phaco, but with lower parameters. Even on a regular machine, I think machines are good. It's important to have a great machine, but I think it's more important to know how to handle your machine, and you can, kind of keep the bottle height low. You can keep your aspiration low. The flow rates can be controlled, and you can have non-leaky ports so that you don't have fluid flowing out and gushing out. So you have an uncontrolled kind of environment, and you can still manage these cases very well. I feel you can better manage them with phaco, but if you are not a skilled phaco surgeon and you are more skilled at SICS, then definitely do SICS.
Yes, that was
Chitra, one aspect that I wanted to bring about was that when you're doing cataract surgery for these cases, and these cases have to undergo a vitreoretinal surgery, then what should be the time gap between the cataract surgery and the vitreoretinal surgery? Because often for vitreoretinal cases, sometimes you do have to, do a cataract surgery first so that you can do a vitreoretinal. So the sequential kind of a thing. So is anybody, I know there are no retina people here. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Some of us do have retina experience, but what is generally the practice? Can it be done sequentially on a gap of 2 or 3 days, or should we wait for a longer period of time?
actually in our city, we do both phaco vitrectomy in the same sitting.
Same sitting.
So
That's
I
what we
do
do.
not see an issue on that. The only time when I would defer and wait for a retina opinion with a cataract is if there is a macular edema, when they want to give the intravitreal injection and want the whole eye to settle down and then go ahead and do a cataract. I don't see any reason why phaco-vitrectomy cannot be done simultaneously.
Actually, in our center, in patients who are 50, 55-year-old, even if it's an early cataract, we go ahead and do a combined surgery. Usually, we do the phaco in the one theater, and the patient is shifted to the next theater because the retina surgeon is more comfortable there and the place is set up. And they just go ahead and subsequently do the surgery in one shot. And that seems to work quite well. I believe that if you just do a vitrectomy surgery in these older patients, most often the cataract progresses quite rapidly, and you end up doing a second surgery within a span of about 2-3 months. And when both are done by competent surgeons working in tandem, the results are quite satisfying.